In this lesson, we're going to cover configuring VRRP, the Virtual Router Redundancy Protocol, on our Arista switches. You can find details about Arista's VRRP implementation in the Arista Configuration Guide. So let's get a basic VRRP configuration going, and then we can play with some of the features. So here on Leaf 1, we'll enter config mode by typing config, and then we're going to do this on VLAN 7. So we're going to create an SVI interface VLAN 7 and assign it an IP address 172.16.7.2 on a /24 network. And then here add our VRP config, VRP and question mark, and you can see that we need to enter the virtual router ID. So I'm going to use 7 for this example, followed by another question mark, and you can see we have options for authentication, delay, setting the priority or the timers. It's just some examples. So here we want to do the VIP, or the actual virtual IP address. So that's going to be 172.16.7.1. And then verification with show run interface VLAN 7. And now let's do the same thing on Leaf 2. Config interface VLAN 7, IP address 172.16.7.3/24, and then VRP7 and the VIP IP space 172.16.7.1, and verification with the show run interface VLAN 7 to verify that our configuration is in place on Ethernet 1. So on Leaf 1 and Leaf 2, the two switches that I want to provide first hop redundancy, or in other words, default gateway redundancy, for my hosts on VLAN 7. I now have a basic VRP configuration that leverages nothing more than the default settings. So let's verify the VRP status. There's a couple commands we can use for that. For example, show VRP brief, and in this output here, you can see that we're running this only right now on interface VLAN 7. If we're associated to the default VRF or another VRF, our ID, our version number, and also notice the state. So this switch is in the backup state for this VRP relationship. So let's jump over to switch 1 and see what that looks like there as well. Show VRP brief. And here we can see on Leaf 1, his state is master. So he's the master of this VRP relationship with Leaf 2, who's acting as the backup. Another useful command is to show VRP interface VLAN 7 and then all. And in this output, we get a little more information, including our virtual MAC address. So this would be the MAC address that's advertised for host that is using 7.1 as their default gateway. We can see our priority, the default is 100. Our VRP advertisement interval is set to every second. And we can see the IP address of the master. In this case, it's local, the 7.2. So if we play around with some VRP configuration options, one of them could be the timer. Config interface VLAN 7, VRP 7, and then question mark, and we can see the keyword is timers. If we question mark that out, we can see we need the keyword advertise. And then this is where we set the interval in seconds for our VRP advertisements. Another option would be to alter the priority. So VRP7 with the keyword priority, question mark, and we see we can set a priority level. So for instance, instead of the default of 100, I can enter 101. Show run interface VLAN 7 for verification. And then also the show VRP interface VLAN 7 all command. And in that output as well, we can see our priority is now 101. And we could take advantage of the track feature. So I've already created a track statement, and we can see that with the show run pipe include track. And here you can see I created a track statement with the object name of ETH1, where we're tracking an interface, specifically interface Ethernet 1, and we're looking for line protocol status. So we can add that in as well. Interface VLAN 7, VRP 7, question mark, and see that the keyword is track, question mark, and that's looking for an object name. So in our case, that's ETH1. And then we can decrement it. What value do we want it assigned if the watched object goes down? So here I could assign, for instance, the number 90. And again, show run interface VLAN7 for verification. We can also add in authentication for the VRRP. Arista supports both plain text and the use of an MD5 password for the VRRP neighbors. So let's add that to both of our lab switches. Here on Leaf 1, we're already in interface VLAN 7 configuration. So VRP 7 question mark, and you can see the authentication keyword. And then we could either do the plain text authentication or the MD5. So let's do the MD5. And the command is IETF-MD5 and then keystring. And then finally, our actual secret password. So here, let's just enter secrets. And verification, show run interface VLAN 7. And we can see our MD5 keystring has been added. Show VRP brief. And then let's go over to Leaf 2 and configure it there as well. Enable, config, interface VLAN 7, VRP 7, authentication, IETF-MD5, key-string, and then our actual text, secrets, show run interface VLAN 7. And also the show VRP interface VLAN 7 all. And now we can see in the output, we have authentication set to MD5 using a key string. As is typical with Arista, they provide features that are industry standard, and VRRP is just another example. So you have options for your first hop redundancy protocol with Arista using either VRRP or virtual ARP. If you have any questions or need some more examples, you can check the Arista configuration guide for the version of software that you're running.